All right, review of the discriminant. B squared minus 4AC. Now, we talked about that a little bit this morning. What is so good, and what does discriminant tell us about a graph? Naomi. How many and the types of roots, okay? So a quadratic can have up to 2 roots. So when the discriminant, and we remember that that is the symbol for the discriminant, when it is greater than 0, you should already have this in your books, right? When the discriminant is greater than 0, that means we have 2 real, and it's not enough to just say 2 real. It also has to be distinct. What does distinct mean? Another word for distinct? Different. Yeah, unique. Good, good. And what that means graphically is that it can cut. Not once, but twice. Okay, it actually cuts the x-axis twice. We know this, yeah? Yeah. Again, I see people writing and it's like, you should already have this in your books. If you don't, it's also on the poster up on the board there. Obviously, if the discriminant was to equal 0, what does that mean? Yeah, go. 1 repeated. So again, is it just 1 repeated? We're missing 1 extra word there. Can't be distinct. It has to be real. Okay? So this would be 1 real repeated root. And what does that look like graphically? Yes?
When it lies on the...
When it lies on the x-axis. Fantastic. When it lies on the x-axis, or if it touches the x-axis. I didn't plan this out very well, did I? Ooh. Love my board. Okay, so, and I'm doing them all positive, but obviously we know they could be concave graphs, but I'm just keeping them happy because we're happy. It's a Tuesday morning and it's our first maths lesson. So happy, right? So that's when it just touches. And of course, if the discriminant is less than 0, that's when, yeah, big fat 0, no real roots. People doing spec, you will learn that there will be imaginary roots. Okay, they're called complex solutions, but it means that the graph will not touch the x-axis, so it either sits totally above, totally below. And so that's why it's really important that we say when they are real, because they could be imag. Okay, and the whole reason that it's going to be doesn't exist is because where does the discriminant sit in our quad formula? Under the square root. And we know that we cannot take the square root of a negative number. It's impossible unless you go imaginary. Okay? So that's why if you get this negative number underneath the square root, your calculator is going to go error. No solution. Isn't going to touch. So we're happy with that? So we looked at questions last year where it would go. I know that's what's coming. Where it might go, y equals, give us a number, any number. You have to work these out, don't give me 44. Let's go minus 4x squared, take 3x plus 1. And the question might have then go, explain or describe the nature of the solutions. I don't actually want the solutions, I just want to know the nature. So in other words, is it 2 real, distinct? Is it 1 real, repeated? Or is it no real? So what would you have to do in that case? So you don't have to write this down, you've done these, right? All you have to do is work out the discriminant. So we'd go b squared minus 4ac equals, what's my b value there? Negative 3. So we'd go minus 3 squared minus 4 times your a value, which is minus 4 times 1, 9, negative and a negative, positive, so plus 16. I don't even care what that answer is. All I worry about is that it is greater than 0. So I can then say, ha ha ha, what is the nature of my roots? 2 real distinct. Obviously, if I work this out and it was less than 0, then I'd say, ha ha ha, no real. We happy with that? We remember that? Great. So, and if you didn't, don't worry. We recall it, we revise it, and we're going up just a little bit of a notch. So, this is now what we are writing. So, discriminant review, and can you write down question 1? And this is probably where I got interrupted. So, find the values of P that will make the following. Now, we can make up our question. So, I'm going to say that will make, what do we want to do? Real? So, if it said values of P that will make 2 real distinct, because I'll give you example tests and all that sort of stuff, but how are you going to get your maximum marks? As soon as you see, find the values of P that will make 2 real distinct roots, the first thing that you should write down is what? Pardon? Anybody? What's the first thing, huh? Absolutely. The first thing you write down is that it's greater than 0, because I now know you understand what's going on. Even if you couldn't do anything else, write that down. Obviously, if it said we'll make, we'll only have 1 repeated solution, then you'll write discriminant equals 0, but write that down. Okay, and now away we go. We're actually going to work it out. Okay, what is my B squared? So we'll go -8. Why am I putting it in brackets again? That's a negative, and if you are using your graphics calculator and you just go -8 squared, it will tell you the wrong answer. Because well, it'll tell you the right answer, but you've entered it in wrong. It'll tell you it's -64. So, -4. What's my A value? 2p or not 2p? What is my C value? P. Okay. Greater than 0. So we had the knowledge. All we're doing is now substituting it in. Would we agree? The reason that I've asked you to do this is because maybe we might have forgotten just a little bit about how to play with inequalities from last year. So we get 64 minus 8p is greater than 0. What will we do now? We're trying to get the value for p. What will we do? Chuck 64 on the other side, absolutely. So it's minus 8p is greater than minus 64. And now, what do I do? Sorry?
Divide by -8.
Divide by -8. So what will be my next line then? They're saying P is greater than 8, and that's where you'll do all this hard work and I'll go, lost a mark. Do you remember anything about dealing with inequalities?
If you divide or times, you just let the same. Or like you make it so that it's
I know what you mean. If you times or divide by a
negative.
negative, right? If you times or divide by a negative, you must change the direction of the inequality. Is anyone, I know you know, is that going now? Do you remember that? If you're going, don't know that at all, then that's something that you better write down next to this here. So we're going to now go, so it's P, because I am dividing by a negative, this inequality has to reverse. And I do not have, you're frowning at me, Piper, I'll come and see you in a momentito and I can explain, but that's just a thingy from last year. Okay, so change direction when you times or divide by a negative. Just remind yourself of that. You remember that? You remember that? Remember that? Ooh. Okay, so would you like to then see how it goes with B? Do you want to stick with greater than?
Yep.
If I did change it, if I changed it to less than 0, could someone come up with a different way? How many different ways could we do to ask that question? Bless you. Like, I'm not going to say, find the value of P for when the discriminant is less than 0. How else could I ask it? Yeah?
No distinct roots.
No distinct real... Ooh, could I say no distinct real roots? If I said no distinct real root... Oh, yeah, okay, I would. I was going to say, well, could that equal less than or equal to 0? But no, no real. That's right. So that would be less than 0. Good. How else could I ask it? When, yep, the graph will not touch, does not touch the x-axis, will not have any x-intercepts. Means the same thing, but sometimes we just use a slightly different word and it throws kids off. So just understand what it's actually asking you. All right, but you guys wanted to stick with greater than 0, so let's do that. So go forth. So we just said, I'm just showing you, do the same thing as the blue, but over here I went rogue and instead of putting the 100 on the other side, put the 16, and you can see these are exactly the same. And of course, I haven't finished it because you would definitely cancel, right? So what would that be? Less than 25 over 4? Done. Okay, just when you think it's safe to go back into the water. Were there any questions on that? Okay. Find the value of P for which the graph crosses the x-axis. So again, that's another example of, what would that be? 2 distinct real roots. If I said does not cross the x-axis, what would it be? All right, so for this one, if it does not cross, I'm going to go, that could be less than or equal to 0 because touching is not crossing or cutting, right? So again, those are some of the things we're just making sure. Do you understand what the discriminant is all about? Okay, so let's go. You have to do what I did. Does not. So away we go. Can you find an expression for the discriminant? We're going to go to does not. So that's good. This would be an unfamiliar question to you. We haven't done one like this, I don't believe. But you go, that's all right. Skills, baby, skills. We're just going to do anything that we can. So we go, the 8 squared, yep, is 64. We see brackets there. What shall we do? Got to do something. Yeah, let's just expand them. Correct. Hell's bells. Now we're a bit stuck. Any ideas? There's silence in the crowd, by the way. What would you do if I had said to you, what would you do if I gave you that expression? Now, I've heard common factor and I've heard quadratic equation. Excellent. Now, you could go straight into the quad formula, right? But I would first always ask myself, is there a common factor? Okay? Some of you in the room might go, oh, stuff all of that. I'm just going to go to my graphic calculator. Okay? And that's fine if we've got the calculator part of the test. So, we're going to pull out our common factor. We all happy it's -4? Tell me what's next. Minus 4 times what gives me 24. So you're dividing through by 4. Right, so minus 6. As I'm doing it, I'm checking. Negative times a negative gives me a positive. Yeah, yeah, yeah. 16 minus there. Oh, minus thereof. And you could go to the calc, but because it's first week back and we're going, yeah, yeah, yeah. Oh, they're two numbers. That times together give you minus 6. So don't call them out. That give you minus 16, but add up to give you minus 6. Now just give me a little bit of a wave. Who knows if they can? 1 person, 2 person, 3 people are waving. So the rest of us, 4 people, the rest of us, if you're not waving, you should be doing this. 1 goes into 16, does 2 go into 16, does 3, no, 4, 4. So out of those pairs, does any pair get me 6? Now we've got people nodding. Okay, so it's not sit and stare for the next 5 minutes, it's get into action. So we've got P8, we've got P2. What are my signs, Lil? Hit me. Minus 8 plus 2. So we'd go Are we happy with that? Well, we'd be really happy if this was solving for 0. We actually wanted it to be less than or equal to 0. If you were to graph this, is this going to be concave or convex? If you were to graph this, concave or convex? Right, this negative, concave. So if I did a dodgy little sketch here, minus 2 and 8, could you now tell me for what values of x will this graph be less than 0? Where does that look like on my graph? Where is the graph less than 0? Yeah. You never have to ask for that. Where is it less than 0? I can't hear if you've got your hand in front of your mouth yet. Well, at negative 2, it's 0. When is it less than 0? Yeah, isn't it less than 0 all the way? Here? For any value of x this side of negative 2, your y value is going to be 0. Is there any other values where it's going to be? Yes? So will it come as a surprise to you if we now say, therefore, P will be less than or equal to minus 2 and you want to say 8. How will I say this? Greater than. The rules. And that throws kids as well. That's just find the equation. Find the equation of the parabola given certain bits of information. Yeah? So, who wants to field this? So just a little bit of a wave. Again, waving again. If you look at this, who doesn't know where to even start? A little bit of a wave. Good. Good. Okay. So, this is all linked to stuff that you were doing going the opposite way. So things like, if I told you y equals 3x take 4 squared, I don't know, plus 5, don't write this down. But if I gave you this, and I then said, yeah, okay, state the vertex, you should be able to go, yep, no problemo. Thank you, nodding. So what is my vertex? vertex? 4, 4, 5. So this should be on your page of notes, in your summary page, right? It should be, and I'll give you a moment if you need to go and write that down, but we should have clearly A, x take h squared plus k. Our vertex would be hk. If you don't have that, write it down somewhere or put a box around it, but that's really important. Sorry, I thought I was recording and I paused it. Now I've unpaused. Just did a whole lot. But this was the thing that we had to remember about the vertex. Okay? We happy with that? So, if it didn't give you another point, this is all you have to do. You're done. Because we have another point, that means you can now find A. Taj, your eyes went up then, right? How are you meant to find A? This point is giving you heaps of information. What is it telling you? What's it telling you? What is this point telling you? What is this? Yes, it's 2, but isn't that also your x value? Yeah? This is your y value. So what are you going to do? Sub. Wherever y is, we're going to replace it with the y value. Don't know what a is, that's what we're trying to find out. So 2 minus 1 squared plus 5. Find a for me, please. This one. We don't have the vertex, do we? And you should have done some of these questions. You were doing these at the end of last term. I'm just recapping. Okay? We've got 0 and we've got x. So what you can now go say is that, well, that would be x take 0 and x take 3, because you're going back the other way. You know how we solved a quadratic? Yeah, that was good, wasn't it? When we solved a quadratic here, we went, ha, my solutions are 8 and minus 2. What I'm telling you now is I'm giving you the solutions and you are putting them back into the factors. Does that make sense? So when my solution is 8, you get p take 8 or x take 8. When it's negative 2, it's plus 2. You reverse the sign. We remember this? So you would do exactly the same thing. Right? But once again, we've got a out the front. A can't equal, don't write this one down because we're about to do one. A doesn't equal 0, and then same deal. This is your x value, this is your y value, you'd sub. Correct? Instead of drawing you a picture, I could write it in words. Has x-intercepts. So if you're writing this down, you can write this one down. Let's do that together. This would say finding the equation because I've got x-intercepts of minus 4 and 1. Straight away, what factor? When you see the minus 4, what factor are you straight away going to write down? X plus 4, that's right. Just reverse the sign. Nothing creepy here, right? It's straightforward. And if it's 1, x take 1. Done. But remember, it could be any. It could be skinny going through those points. It could be concave. It could be convex. It could be wide. That's why we stick the a out the front. A doesn't equal 0. If you're not given any more information, we are done here. Our hearts sink because we are given more information. So onward we go. But all we're telling ourselves is, what do we have to do to go onward? Sub. Sub, right? That's my x. That's my y. Sub it in. Let's see what you guys get for your value of a. Already, before I even do d, what value do I know my a will be? As in, is a going to be positive or negative? Yep, a would be negative. So, let's do d. LMA, you okay? You're not well. Oh. How sad. Shh. Okay, again, no fooling around. Philippe, hit me. Take 1. So what factor would that be? Got the A. Excellent. What factor? So, look, this is why you can't zone out. When we had positive 1, it was a good boy. You got x plus 1 and done. Okay, once again, we've got our point. Yo. Once again, we've got 0, 3. Be right there, Heath. Yay, -1. We expected it was going to be negative. It proved to be negative. Yay, us. Double check the question. If it says put it in expanded form, yeah, can you use that for now, please? If it says put it in expanded form, expand. If it doesn't, don't do extra work. As much as I know you all want to do extra work. Evil. Okay, now they go on. Don't give up. Any takers on question 2? They don't give you both x-intercepts. Or do they? Say that again. Listening to Finn. It would be 4. Why? Right, it's symmetrical. So here, 2 to 3, that's a gap of 1. So it has to be a gap of 1 there. So 3 plus 1, that would be 4. Same deal, just given slightly differently. Please, go through, do as much of this exercise as you can. In the remaining 10 minutes, your homework will be your investigation.